Listen, there's a move most guys never learn because everyone thinks relationships are won by talking more, trying harder, explaining yourself until your throat is raw. That's what friends tell you, what half the internet preaches. Say the right thing, send the perfect message. Explain until they understand. But here's something different, something most men never try. Silence will be a message all by itself, and when used with clarity, it changes the whole game. I'm not telling you to be cold or petty. I'm not telling you to play childish games. I'm talking about a disciplined, calm withdrawal that has weight behind it, a silence that comes from choosing yourself rather than begging for someone else's attention. The longer you hold it, the more she feels it, not because you're punishing her, but because you've stopped feeding the dynamics you relied on. Today I'll walk you through why silence works, how her mind reacts to it, and how to hold your ground without losing your dignity. Point 1. Silence pulls attention like a magnet. Let me paint this for you, man. Imagine walking into a crowded cafe. Music playing, people laughing, cups clinking. You barely notice a little sound because the room is full of noise. But then suddenly, everything stops. The music cuts, the chatter dies, the barista freezes. And in that heavy quiet, even the smallest sound, a spoon tapping a cup, a chair sliding back, it feels enormous. That's exactly what happens when you go silent with a woman who's used to having your attention. All those texts, those little likes on her posts, those calls, they create background noise she takes for granted. She expects it like clockwork. But when you pull that back, when the rhythm breaks, the silence itself becomes deafening. She notices it more than she ever noticed your presence. I had a buddy who went through this. He was the type of guy who couldn't stand conflict. Every time his girl got upset, he would write essays to explain himself. If she was short with him, he'd send 3 different apologies, hoping one would land. At first, she ate it up, but eventually she tuned him out. Why? Because when you always rush to explain, your words lose weight. You become predictable. Then one day he stopped, not in a bitter, "I'm done with you" way. He just pulled back. No angry texts, no long explanations. He needed space for himself, and instead of filling the silence with noise, he let it sit. Guess what happened? She was the one who started reaching out. She was the one sitting there thinking, why isn't he texting? Did I go too far? Did he stop caring? And here's the irony, bro. His absence spoke louder than every long message he ever sent. That's what silence does. It flips the script. You stop chasing her understanding, and suddenly she's the one trying to interpret you. See, silence isn't emptiness. It's pressure. It's a mirror. It forces her to feel the weight of your absence and question the story she's been telling herself. And that's why it pulls attention like a magnet. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped giving her what she took for granted. Point 2. Her imagination starts running the show. Here's the thing about people, bro. We can't stand unanswered questions. When something doesn't make sense, the mind fills in the blanks, and it usually paints the worst-case scenario. That's exactly what happens when you go quiet. She doesn't just shrug and move on. No, her imagination kicks into overdrive. She starts asking herself questions she never bothered with before. Maybe he met someone else. Maybe I pushed him away. Maybe I wasn't as important as I thought. Each of those maybes is like adding a brick to her chest, and the pressure builds. It's kind of like giving a painter a blank canvas. Leave him alone in front of it, and he won't leave it empty. He'll start throwing colors, shapes, anything to make sense of that empty space. Silence is your blank canvas. And trust me, she will paint all over with jealousy, guilt, regret, and fear. You don't have to say a word. Her own mind does the heavy lifting. I knew this one guy, right? He wasn't even trying to make his ex miss him. He just got busy with his own life. Started hitting the gym, working on a side hustle, spending more time with his boys. He wasn't posting updates. He wasn't explaining where he was. And guess what? She started blowing up his phone after weeks of not hearing from him. Not because he begged her back, but because her imagination couldn't handle the silence. She built a whole story in her head about him moving on, maybe even with someone new. That's the power of silence. Man, it makes her own thoughts chase her. And here's the kicker. The story she invents is often way more intense than the reality. You could be at home watching Netflix with a bowl of noodles, but in her mind, you're out with someone else, laughing, forgetting she ever existed. That's why silence feels like a strategy even when you're not playing games. You're just reclaiming your time, focusing on you. But to her, that blank space screams louder than any speech. Her own imagination becomes your loudest advocate and your biggest ally. Point 3. Time stretches for the one left waiting. You know how when you're waiting for something you really want, time seems to crawl? Like you order food delivery. The app says 35 minutes, and you're cool with it at first. You watch a video, check your phone, then you look at the clock, and it's only been 7 minutes. Suddenly, every second feels heavier. That's what waiting does. It bends time. Now imagine that in relationships. When someone's using your attention on tap, your texts, your calls, your constant presence, even a few hours without it can feel like days. Silence stretches time. Every hour you don't respond, every night you don't check in, weighs more in her mind than it does in yours. I saw this play out with a guy I know. After his breakup, instead of chasing, he pulled back. Not as some trick. He was honestly buried in work, focusing on himself. At first, his ex acted unbothered, posting selfies, laughing with friends, living her best life online. But the truth showed up at night. She started checking her phone more and more, scrolling through old messages, replaying their last conversations. 72 hours felt like a week to her. The silence bent time against her, not him. And that's the key, man. When you step back, you shift away to time. Back when you were chasing, you were the one counting minutes, waiting for her to reply, wondering why she was slow. But once you go quiet, she's the one waiting. She's the one checking her phone. She's the one counting hours. And every extra tick of the clock makes your presence feel more valuable. But here's the catch. It only works if your silence is real. If you're pacing the room, staring at your phone, waiting for her to message, that anxious energy leaks through somehow. Authentic silence. The kind where you're genuinely focused on your own life. That's the silence that stretches time in her world. So, if you choose silence, hold it. Don't rush to break it. Don't cave because you're uncomfortable. Let the clock do the heavy lifting for you. Because in silence, time isn't your enemy anymore. It's your ally. Point 4. Her certainty about you begins to crack. Listen, man, people love control. They love knowing how things are going to play out. And she had that with you. She knew if she pulled away a little, you'd chase. She knew if she went cold, you'd warm things back up. She felt like she could set the rhythm, and you'd just dance to it. That kind of certainty, it makes someone feel safe, even if they don't fully value it. But here's where it shifts. The moment you stop giving her that predictable reaction, when the texts don't come on schedule, when the likes disappear, when your attention isn't automatic, cracks start to form in that certainty. At first, she'll brush it off, tell herself, he'll be back. He always is. But doubt has a way of creeping in slow, like water seeping into stone. Over time, it carves deep. She starts replaying moments she never questioned before. That last time you two talked. Did you sound different? Did you laugh less? Did you seem distant and she just missed it? Suddenly, little memories that once felt normal now feel heavy, suspicious even. That's what doubt does. It rewrites the past in her mind. And then the real question hits her. Do I actually make him stay? Or was I just assuming I did? That's the gut punch, man. Because once she starts asking herself that, the whole power dynamic flips. You're not the one chasing anymore. She's the one trying to figure out if she still has the influence she thought she had. And look, she can post all the selfies she wants. She can act unbothered on Instagram, smiling with friends, laughing at parties. But behind all that performance, the safety net she relied on, your constant attention, is gone. And nothing makes a person reevaluate their behavior faster than losing what they assumed would always be there. That's the beauty of silence. You don't have to lecture her. You don't have to argue. You don't even have to explain. The space you create forces her to look in the mirror and realize what she had, what she lost, and what she took for granted. And that shift, That's where the balance of power starts to move in your direction. Point 5. Curiosity turns into worry. Has he moved on? Bro, let me tell you, this is where silence really starts to dig in. One of the sharpest questions your silence plants in her mind is simple but brutal. Has he moved on? That thought alone can flip her whole energy. Now, she won't admit it out loud. At first, she'll tell her friends, "Oh, he's probably just busy. He'll text me eventually." She'll laugh it off, act unbothered. But here's the thing about that question. It doesn't leave. It lingers. It keeps circling back at night when she's alone, when her phone is quiet, when she can't distract herself. That's when it starts to sting. And social media? That makes it 10 times worse. You don't even have to post anything with another woman. All it takes is your silence, and her mind fills in the blanks. She pictures you at a brunch, sitting across from someone new, laughing at a joke she'll never hear. She imagines you walking into a room with that calm energy, and another woman noticing it. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter. The pictures she paints in her head are often harsher than reality. I've seen this play out with my own eyes. A buddy of mine went silent after his breakup, not as a tactic, but because he was honestly working on himself. He wasn't posting pictures, wasn't showing off. But guess what? His ex started asking mutual friends about him. Is he seeing someone? Have you heard anything? She was fishing, because the silence left her no answers, and that lack of control drove her crazy. That's why this point is so powerful, man. You don't need to confirm or deny anything. You don't need to drop hints or play games. The uncertainty itself does the work. That seed, has he moved on, grows all on its own. And the more she thinks about it, the more her pride takes a hit, because deep down she realizes something she never thought possible. She might be replaceable. And nothing stings the ego more than that. So let the question breathe. Don't rush in to reassure her. Don't explain. Don't clarify. Her imagination is already working harder than you ever could. And over time, that quiet tug, that worry she can't shake, will shift how she sees you, without you saying a single word. Point 6. There's a moment when she pivots and starts moving toward you. Here's the thing, brother. Every silence has a breaking point. You can only leave someone with their thoughts for so long before curiosity, guilt, or even jealousy builds up to pressure they can't ignore. That's the moment she pivots. Out of nowhere, she'll send a casual text, something simple like, "Hey, how have you been?" Or maybe she likes your story after weeks of ignoring you. Maybe she slides into your DMs with a comment that feels small, but trust me, it's not small. That's her crack in the wall. That's the signal that the balance just flipped. But here's where most guys fumble. The moment she sends one breadcrumb, they sprint back in full force. Long replies, eager emojis, maybe even a call. And just like that, all the power they built in silence vanishes. She feels like she has you back on the leash, and the cycle repeats. So what do you do instead? You hold your ground. You match your move with composure. If she sends a light message, you give a calm response. A little warmth, but not your whole heart thrown at her feet. You don't rush to reestablish the old rhythm. You let her lean in slowly, steadily, on your terms. Think of it like timing in a sport. Imagine a basketball player holding the ball in the last seconds of the game. If he shoots too early, he gives the other team time to counter. If he waits too long, the chance slips away. The win depends on patience and precision. That's exactly how this pivot moment works. Too much eagerness, and you lose your ground. Too much hesitation, and the connection fades. But if you stay steady, if you respond with the same calm you held during the silence, you keep the advantage. I'll tell you this. The men who master this moment don't come across as cold, but they don't fold either. They respond in a way that says, I'm open to you, but I'm not dependent on you. And that, my friend, is the energy she respects the most. Because now she's chasing, and you're no longer the one auditioning for a place in her life. Point 7. Breaking silence too soon ruins everything. Bro, this is the mistake I see almost every guy make. They do all the hard work. They step back, they hold the silence, they let her feel the absence. And just when the pressure is finally building on her end, they cave. They send that one text that kills the whole effect. Hey, I miss you. Or worse, they unload with a long message about how they've been thinking of her. And just like that, all the ground they gained disappears. Why? Because you didn't give the silence enough time to do its job. If you break it too soon, before she's felt the weight of your absence, you're basically handing her control back on a silver platter. She gets to relax, because now she knows you're still orbiting her. The power dynamic resets, and you're back to chasing. Think of it like baking bread. When you set the dough aside to rise, you don't keep lifting the towel every 5 minutes to check on it. Every time you peek, you let out the heat, you ruin the process. Bread needs patience. So does silence. If you can't resist the urge to check in too soon, you kill the rise. And all the pressure that was quietly building on her side, gone. I watched this happen with a guy I know. He was actually doing well for first week. Focus on his work, hitting the gym, not reaching out. She started to crack. She liked one of his old photos. Even sent a casual, hope you're doing good message to a mutual friend. That was his moment to hold steady. But instead, he pounced. He replied with a long, emotional text. The shift was over in an instant. She knew she still had him. That's why, if your silence is intentional, you've got to commit. Don't break it out of fear that she'll forget you. Don't break it because your ego needs reassurance. Wait until you see clear signs that she's the one doing the reaching. A text, a call, an action that shows she's leaning back in. And even then, you don't rush. You respond with calm, with composure, with the same steady energy you've been holding. Because silence isn't about punishing her. It's about protecting your frame. And the man who can hold his ground until the right moment, he's the one who never has to chase again. Point 8. Silence reveals the genuine from performance. Here's something you need to understand. Man, silence is the ultimate truth filter. When you stop responding, when you stop feeding people with constant energy, the actors in your life reveal themselves. Some will just disappear. And honestly, that tells you everything. If your attention was the only thing keeping them around, then the moment it's gone. So, are they? That's not loss. That's clarity. Others will go into performance mode. You'll see it loud and clear. Suddenly, she's posting curated happy pictures, selfies with exaggerated smiles, or maybe a group shot that feels staged just to prove she's unbothered. But here's the thing. Genuine happiness doesn't need an audience. Performance does. And the louder the act, the deeper the crack beneath it. Then there are the ones who test. Some will try sweetness, a soft, hey stranger text, or a little nostalgic message about the past. Others will test with barbs, subtle digs, sarcastic comments, even little provocations to see if they can still get a rise out of you. Either way, they're reaching, trying to pull you back into their game. But here's the beauty. Your silence sorts it all out without you lifting a finger. The ones who truly care, they'll step forward in clear, direct ways. No games, no bait, just honesty. The ones who only wanted attention for validation, they'll either perform for the crowd or vanish into the background. I've seen guys learn more about their relationships from 2 weeks of silence than from 2 years of talking. One buddy of mine told me straight up, when he pulled back, the woman he thought cared about him never reached out once. Meanwhile, a different friend, the one he didn't expect, was the first to check in and ask if he was okay. That silence revealed who was genuine and who was just acting. And let me tell you, brother, that clarity is priceless. Because at the end of the day, silence either confirms someone's integrity or exposes their performance. Either way, you win, because you stop living under illusions. Point 9. The biggest win is peace, not revenge. Let me be real with you, brother. This whole silence thing isn't about playing games or trying to make her chase you like you're some trophy. It's not about revenge. It's not about teaching her a lesson just so you can feel bigger. If that's the mindset, you're still trapped. You're still letting her dictate the terms. The real point of silence is this. You're choosing peace. You're choosing dignity. You're finally saying, I'm done burning my energy, proving my worth to someone who couldn't see it. And that shift, that quiet decision, is where the real win lives. Think about it. When you're chasing, you're restless. You're anxious, waiting for a reply. checking if she noticed your effort. That's emotional dependence, man. That's giving someone else the keys to your peace. But when you step back, when you redirect that same energy into your own life, the gym, your work, your mission, your friendships, you stop hinging your value on whether she sees you. I've seen this transformation happen. A guy I knew was obsessed with getting his ex back. Every day he'd check her socials, write out messages he never sent, play the what-if game in his head. The stress was eating him alive. Then one day he just stopped. He focused on his career, started boxing again, traveled with his friends. A year later, not only was he thriving, but he realized he didn't even want her back. The peace he found was worth more than the relationship he lost. And that's the thing, man. Silence isn't just a tool to change your behavior. It's a mirror that changes yours. You stop needing to be noticed. You start living in a way that naturally attracts people who belong in your life. The ones who value peace. The ones who respect strength. The ones who don't need you to bleed for them just to stay. So the biggest win here? It's not that she regrets losing you. It's not that she starts chasing you again. The biggest win is freedom. Freedom from emotional dependence. Freedom from the endless loop of seeking validation. And once you taste that peace, you'll never go back to begging, chasing, or explaining yourself again. That, my friend, is the ultimate victory. So here's the deal, brother. Silence is powerful when it's genuine, when it comes from a place of self-respect, and when you use it to protect your energy rather than to punish. It pulls attention because people notice what they lose. It lets her imagination do the work. It stretches time to your advantage. It chips away at her certainty. And if you time it right, it can shift the balance so she moves toward you, or it can reveal she wasn't that invested in the first place. But a few caveats. Don't hide from your problems forever. Don't use silence to avoid real conversations you both need to have for growth. Don't blank people out of insecurity. Use it as a tool to center yourself, gather perspective, and see who's real. If you're thinking of trying this, do it with humility and purpose. Live your life, invest in your goals, and let the silence speak while you build. The men who learn this aren't playing games. They're choosing themselves. And that, my friend, is the difference between desperation and dignity. If this landed for you, say it out loud. I choose my peace. Keep building. Keep your frame. And whether she returns, reaches out, or fades, your life keeps moving forward.